It is that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into another edition of Keaton Talk Sports. In today's video, I will be predicting each division for the AFC Conference from first to last place. With that being said, let's not waste any more time as we are currently a month away from the start of week 1. Starting off with the AFC East, we'll start with number 1. Number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills winning the division at 13-4. This is clearly the best team still in the AFC East. This will be the 6th year in a row if they are able to get it done this year, which they most likely will, winning the AFC East in dominant fashion. I still think this is clearly the best team in this division. You look at the Buffalo Bills, you look at last year, they lost to Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round 32-29. And again, they probably should have won, having opportunity after opportunity to win that game, and they just weren't able to make enough plays down the stretch in Kansas City. But I think this is going to be a huge year for the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, because if you look at their window of opportunity to win the Super Bowl, this couldn't be a better year for them to get to that Super Bowl. Now, obviously, you still have to go through the Chiefs, which they're able to beat in the regular season. But at the end of the day, they haven't been able to beat the Chiefs in the postseason when it really matters most. So I'm wondering if this is the year the Buffalo Bills can finally get that home field advantage and beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, which they haven't been able to do. We all know what they like to do in the regular season. Josh Allen is a hell of a quarterback. He won MVP last year. Can he replicate what he did last year, or will the Buffalo Bills take a little bit of a step back? Who knows what will happen? But I think this Bills team should finish 13-4. Just looking at their schedule, the schedule's not really that hard. They can honestly finish 15-2 if things really go well for them. But 13-4, I think that's a plausible record for the Buffalo Bills, and they should be near the top of the AFC Conference. Second, I have the New England Patriots finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. This Patriots team, I love, absolutely love what they did this offseason, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You got guys like Milton Williams, Carlton Davis on that side of the ball. The offensive line, I believe, is going to be more improved. You got Will Campbell, who was a solid pick at the number 4 overall pick for the Patriots. A lot of people were questioning why would they go with an offensive lineman. And you look at the Patriots' offensive line last year, it was clearly the worst in football at number 32. They needed an offensive lineman to protect Drake May at all costs. I do believe Drake May will take that next leap in his important second season. There's a lot of talk with these quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, and all that. Which one of these quarterbacks could take a step back? I don't think Drake May is going to take a step back. I think he's going to continue to progress and get better. I think this Patriots team improved in so many areas, especially at head coach and just coaching staff in general. Gerard Mayo last year, that was an absolute disaster. I think Mike Vrabel will get this team rolling in the right direction. There's definitely a new energy, a new vibe in the building. I think this Patriots team is going to be more improved. And wouldn't even surprise me if they won 10 games if things really go well for them in 2025. So I think they improved significantly in 2025, and they finished with a 9-8 record, second place behind the Buffalo Bills. Third place, I had the Miami Dolphins finishing with a 7-10 record for the 2025 season. This Miami Dolphins team is imploding in front of our own eyes. We don't even know if Tua is even going to make it through the season. Let's hope he does. But there's some question marks with the Miami Dolphins. A lot of drama this offseason with Tyreek Hill not being happy with the team. Obviously, he's still there. Very dynamic wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Waddle's still there. So, I mean, the Dolphins' offense, I believe, will be fine in 2025. But what's their defense going to be like? Because their defense has a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. They didn't really improve this offseason on that side of the ball. I do love Kenneth Grant from Michigan. I think he will be a solid player for that team. But I just don't see the Miami Dolphins really being any good this year. We don't even know if Tua is going to make it through the season. There's just a lot of question marks with this team. Defense is not good whatsoever. And it wouldn't even surprise me if the Dolphins were to fire Mike McDaniel and get rid of Tua at the end of the season. I think there's going to be a lot of changes, in my opinion, with this Dolphins organization after this year. And honestly, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you really need to root for a lost season because that's the only way this team is going to get back to any sort of relevant status for years to come down the road. I just think it doesn't really make sense for them to win 8-9 games just to get bounced in the first round in the playoffs. So I think the Dolphins finished 7-10. I don't think they're better than the Patriots this year or the Buffalo Bills. I think they're a solid third in the AFC East for the 2025 season. And then last but not least, the New York Jets finished with a 6-11 record for the 2025 season. This Jets team obviously had a terrible year last year. The Aaron Rodgers experiment was an absolute disaster. When he first came in the league, or when he first came in with the Jets, his first year he got hurt, ended up missing that season with his Achilles injury, and then obviously he had a very, very bad year last year. And the Jets cleaned house at the end of the season, getting rid of Rodgers, um, and stuff like that. Bring in a whole new staff, Aaron Glenn. I believe the defense is going to be the reason why they win games in 2025. I think the defense will be much more improved with all the personnel they have on that side. This could be one of the best defenses in the league. But again, there's a lot of questions too with Justin Fields being that quarterback. I don't think that's much of an upgrade, in my opinion. I don't think he's that much more of an upgrade to Aaron Rodgers. There's some inaccuracy issues with Justin Fields. Can he read a defense? What's he going to do when he goes up against a team like the Broncos and some of these elite defenses? Can he be able to read the field, not make those mental mistakes on his side? That's going to cost his team games. But I think the defense is going to be the reason why they win games. I think the offense is kind of hit or miss. We'll have to wait and see with the Jets, but there's going to be some growing pains, obviously, with this team. Like I said, bringing in a new staff. Justin Fields, we don't know what he's going to be. I think this is going to be a big year for him, in my opinion, because can he solidify himself as that starting quarterback? Obviously, he is behind an improved offensive line. He really hasn't had a good offensive line when he was with the Chicago Bears and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he does have that to his disposal. But at the end of the day, you're the starting quarterback. You have to be able to put the team on your back and not make those mistakes at the end of the game. So I think the season really relies on Justin Fields, and can the defense continue to carry, which I think the Jets defense will be better this year, but there's going to be some growing pains. I think they are a clear last place team in the AFC East for the 2025 season. Moving on to the AFC North, we'll start with number one. Number one, I have the Baltimore Ravens finishing with a 15-2 record for the 2025 season. This Baltimore Ravens team absolutely loved what they did this offseason, especially in the draft. Malachi Starks was probably one of my favorite selections for this team. I think he fits in tremendously for what the Ravens want to do. The defense, I believe, is going to be one of the best in football this year. But the real question is, can Lamar Jackson get the Ravens over the hump? We all know what he does in the regular season. But when it gets to the postseason, can he perform up to standard? That's going to be the question. Looking at the Ravens' schedule, I think they should absolutely cruise through the regular season. I think they should honestly have no issues in the division and stuff like that. I think they'll lose to Pittsburgh once in the division, but they should really beat everybody else pretty handily in that division. And they'll take care of the rest of the games outside of their division to get that number one seed in the AFC. But it's going to come down, like I said earlier, it's going to come down to what Lamar Jackson, this team, does come postseason time, because they have yet to be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, which they haven't been able to do. You lost to Buffalo last year, obviously a game they probably should have won if Mark Andrews didn't drop that damn football that could put the game to overtime, and who knows what would have happened there. But this Ravens team, I love their defense. I think their defense is going to be one of the best in football. I think the offense will continue to get better with Lamar Jackson. We all know what he does with his legs and extend plays for his team. Derrick Henry, the best running back, in my opinion, in football. So they have a good 1-2 punch on offense in Lamar and Derrick Henry, and a solid defense, which should be one of the best in football. So the Ravens have a lot of good things going for them, but it's going to come down to, can Lamar Jackson simply just get the Ravens through the AFC and get to that Super Bowl and win it, which he hasn't been able to do. So a lot of people are wishing for him to get to that Super Bowl, and I'm one of those people that I'm really high on Lamar Jackson, but again, it's going to come down to what he does in those big games late in the season and postseason. So, but the Ravens should easily win this division by default. I don't think it's even close. Number two, at the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. Pretty much the same situation I've been saying about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're allergic to being under 500. Now, I was pretty close to putting them under 500, but Mike Tomlin and the crew always seems to find a way to win 9 games every single season. I think their defense is going to be the reason why they win games. Not completely sold with their offense. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, I think he will have a little bit of a bounce back year, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get the Steelers to the playoffs and stuff like that. We'll see what happens with the offense. It's going to be a work in progress, week-to-week basis for that offense, but defense will be really solid, and the Steelers will find a way to win 9 games, even though it wouldn't even surprise me if they were under that 9-8 record for the first time under Mike Tomlin's career. Third place, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, the Cincinnati Bengals finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. Now, this hurts because if you look at the Bengals team offensively, they are a juggernaut with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, who the Bengals re-signed this offseason. Trey Henderson obviously will be back with the team will be back with the team since he got his contract situation figured out. But at the end of the day, I still don't believe the Bengals solved the back end of their defense, which has been the Achilles heel for that team over the past couple of seasons. I think the Bengals had the potential to be a 13-4 team with an improved defense, but they really haven't taken care of the defense this offseason. I just think that's going to be the reason why they missed the playoffs once again, because at the end of the day, yes, your offense can put up 30 points in their sleep. No doubts about that. But if your defense can't get stops in these crucial games, it's not going to matter how many points your offense puts up because your defense is going to be giving up points week in and week out. What are you going to do when you go up against a team like the Buffalo Bills with mobile quarterbacks like Josh Allen and the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs? Like, all those quarterbacks are mobile, can use their feet. If your defense can't get stops, it's not going to matter. At the end of the day, that's the reason why I have the Bengals in third place in the division at 9-8. Now, like I said, if I'm wrong about this pick, I'm wrong. I think they do have the potential to go 13-4 as their ceiling, but at the end of the day, I'm just not buying it because I just don't think their defense is going to be able to get the stops when they need to get stops, and their defense is going to be on the field most of the game because, like I said, they're not going to be able to get the stops that they need. So it's just going to put a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense to perform, to be able to keep up week in and week out, which they obviously can do. But at the end of the day, if last year didn't say why they missed the playoffs because of their defense, what makes you think it's going to be any different this year with not an improved back end of their defense? So I had the Bengals finishing 9-8 and missing the playoffs once again in 2025. And then last but not least, I had the Cleveland Browns finishing with a 5-12 record for the 2025 season. There's not much to say about the Cleveland Browns. This is easily the worst team still in the AFC North. Now, the only thing I will give the Browns credit for is, like I said, I think their defense will be pretty solid. Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, who they traded back to get in the draft. I think that 1-2 punch on defense will cause some issues for some offenses around the NFL. But at the end of the day, this offense is still a work in progress. I mean, we don't even know who the Browns starting quarterback is going to be and stuff like that. You got Shadir Sanders, you got Joe Flacco, and stuff like that, and a bunch of other quarterbacks on that roster. We don't even know who the starting quarterback is going to be for that team. It's just a mess for the Cleveland Browns right now. Obviously, I don't like what they did, in my opinion. I don't like what they did in the draft by, trading back for Mason Graham when you had Travis Hunter on the board for that team. Obviously, the offense needs a lot of work. They need offense. Travis Hunter would have been a phenomenal fit for that offense just to give them some type of spark, which they don't really have offensively. So I think the Browns it's gonna be another rough year for them, and it wouldn't even surprise me if they were in the top 3 in next year's draft for looking for a quarterback, because I don't think either one of those quarterbacks that they currently have on the roster is gonna really move the needle for them. We'll have to see. We don't know what Shadir Sanders is going to be at the next level. Hopefully he succeeds, but I just find it hard to believe, being with the Cleveland Browns organization, who is a joke to this day, is going to be able to make that quarterback room or make one of those quarterbacks better. So 5-12 for the Cleveland Browns. We don't need to waste much more time about them. Next division is the AFC South. At number 1, I have the Houston Texans winning the division at 10-7. This is still the best team in this division as I'm currently speaking. Now, there's some issues a little bit with the offensive line, but I do think the offensive line will be slightly better than what they were in 2024. At the end of the day, I love what the Texans did in the draft. You got Higgins and Noel in the draft, both phenomenal wide receivers. It just gives CJ Stroud more weapons to work with on offense and stuff like that. They have a solid defense, which obviously will be one of the best in the league as well. Probably a top 5 defense. So they have that to their disposal to work with. I still think the Texans are the best team in this division. I think CJ Stroud will bounce back after having a little bit of a down year last year. I think he'll bounce back in a big way this year in a weak division. Obviously, there's a lot of people that think the Jacksonville Jaguars will take over the division. I was one of those people that was close to putting them at first, but I was like, I can't do it just yet. I still think the Texans are the best team in this division. And obviously, this is probably one of the weakest divisions in the NFL. So who knows what will happen up top. But I do think the Texans get it done once again. And we'll see what C.J. Stroud and this team does come postseason time. I think they need to try to win at least a playoff game to try to make themselves relevant in the conversation of potentially getting to a Super Bowl and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to get to a Super Bowl, but they got at least, in my opinion, win at least one playoff game, or at least get to the AFC title game to try to make some sort of improvement over the last couple years. So I think the Texans win the division once again at 10-7 and stuff like that. Second place, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing with an 8-9 record for the 2025 season. This Jags team, I love what they did in the draft. They traded up for Travis Hunter, who I believe is going to really help that offense tremendously. You got Brian Thomas Jr., who you got in last year's draft. So I'm looking at the offense. I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence in particular. There's really no excuses why the Jacksonville Jaguars shouldn't have a better season this year. I mean, he finished 4-13 last year. It's a 4-game improvement. Obviously, I have him outside of the playoff picture, but if they can show significant improvement, if Trevor Lawrence can get back to what he was his rookie season, this Jacksonville Jaguars team can surprise a lot of people. I think they will improve. I think the defense will be a little bit better than what they were last year. But it's just going to, the team goes as far as Trevor Lawrence takes them. That's simply what it comes down to. But I do love the acquisitions that they got this offseason in the draft and stuff like that. I think this team will be much better in 2025, and I think they're going to shock some teams this year. Third place, I had the Tennessee Titans finishing with a 6-11 record for the 2025 season, same record as last year. The only reason why I have the Titans finishing with the same record is because we don't know what to expect from Cam Ward, rookie quarterback coming in on his own. There's going to be some growing pains for Cam Ward. I do love the potential for Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward can be something special in this league given his size, and I think he'll be able to withstand the rigorous times of the NFL. I think he'll be able to handle the NFL at the next level. He just needs to be a little bit more smarter with his decision making. Obviously, just if nothing's there, throw the ball away. Don't put the team in jeopardy by trying to force something down the field that's not there. Just make the rookie move. If nothing's there, you got the next play to worry about. Don't try to put your team in jeopardy by turning the ball over because your ego got in the way and stuff like that. But I do love what the Titans did by selecting Cam Ward. I think he's gonna really come in on his own. Obviously, there's going to be some growing pains, but I think he'll have some splash plays, which this Titans team has really lacked at that quarterback position over the last couple of years. You had Mason Rudolph there last year, but he obviously is no Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward will definitely make this team more exciting, and I think Titans fans should be excited for this upcoming season and in the future for that team. I think he's going to steer that team in the right direction. Obviously, I don't like them losing Harold Landry to the Patriots this offseason. I think Harold Landry is one of the best pass rushers in all of football. So the Patriots really got a hell of a player there. But I still think the Titans defense will be okay. I think their defense will still be solid on that side. But if Cam Ward just takes care of the football, and like I said, if he can just have a decent season, I think the Titans will be fine. I think they'll be fine going into next year. I think they have something to look forward to in the future for that team and the organization. Then last but not least, the Colts. I have them finishing in last place with a 5-12 record for the 2025 season. Now, Colts fans may not be happy with this prediction because at the end of the day, Colts are normally around the 500 mark pretty much every single season. They're right around 500 every year. But I'm just looking at the situation. I'm just like, I don't like the quarterback situation with the Colts. Anthony Richardson, I don't think he's all that at quarterback. He turns the ball over at a very high rate. He takes a lot of big hits instead of just going down. He decides to take a hit, and which is the reason why he ended up missing time last year with injury. And then Daniel Jones coming from a terrible situation with the New York Giants. I understand the Giants obviously didn't have talent across the board. He had nothing to work with, bad offensive line and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, even when Daniel Jones does have time in the pocket, he still makes terrible decisions with the football. Now, we'll see what he does with the Colts. I do think he will have a bit of a bounce back year, but I don't think either one of these quarterbacks is going to move the needle for the Colts. I do think the Colts are going to be in the mix for a quarterback in next year's draft. I just don't think either one of these quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones is going to move the needle in any sort of positive manner for this Colts team. And then Jonathan Taylor is really the only, he's the wild card. If he's healthy, this Colts team goes as far as he takes them. But he's been out with injuries every single year. He can't stay healthy. So you got that to your disadvantage if you're the Colts. And I just think this is the worst team, in my opinion, in the AFC South. I could be wrong with this, but I just don't like the direction with this organization's going. I don't like the quarterback situation. I think that's going to be the reason why the Colts underachieve in 2025, in my opinion. Last division, we have the AFC West. Up top, I have the Kansas City Chiefs finishing with a 12-5 record for the 2025 season. This Chiefs team got all the way to the Super Bowl last year, getting absolutely demolished by the Philadelphia Eagles in good fashion. But at the end of the day, this Chiefs team is still here until someone dethrones them. I still like Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. As long as you got those two guys on the sidelines in particular, the Chiefs are always going to be in the Super Bowl mix every single year, whether if people like it or not. They have a solid defense still and stuff like that. I think the offense will continue to get better. Obviously, there's a lot of people that say looking at their offense last year, they just kind of were all over the place. They weren't really consistent, and they still were able to find a way to win. Was it 14 or 15 games or whatever they won last year? But I think 12-5 is a reasonable record for the Chiefs. I think that's enough to win the division in a tiebreaker, in my opinion, and it'll be enough to get the 3 seed. And like I said, the Chiefs, whether if they have a worse record or not, they always seem to find a way to be ready at the most important time of the season, and that's the postseason. And whether if they have a good record or not, I still think the Chiefs are still here until someone knocks them off. They're still going to be in the conversation at the end of the day. We'll see what happens, but I think the Chiefs finished with a 12-5 record and winning the AFC West once again in 2025. Second place, I have the Denver Broncos finishing with a 12-5 record for the 2025 season. This Broncos team really shocked me last year. I mean, I was not expecting Bo Nix and this team to even be a playoff team. I actually thought this team would be one of the worst teams last year, and they definitely proved me wrong. Bo Nix is a hell of a quarterback. That defense is absolutely legit. I think their defense this year is going to be the best in football. They got a lot of nasty players on that side who mesh well together, and they're going to cause a lot of issues for a lot of good teams around the NFL and stuff like that. If Bo Nix can continue to take that next step in his important second season, which a lot of people believe he's going to take a step back. I don't know about that. We'll have to see what happens. But I think the Broncos are here. I think the Broncos are going to be a force to be reckoned with around the league. And I think they're only going to continue to get better. And I have them as a playoff team once again in 2025. And I don't think it's even a question there with how good their defense is, especially. Third place, I have the Los Angeles Chargers finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. Now, some of you Chargers fans out there are probably wondering, like, why would the Chargers take a step back in the record column? It's not even because I don't like the Chargers. I think the Chargers have great talent across the board. I just think they're in the low division. And I'm just looking at all the other divisions. It's all going to depend on what happens in the AFC East, the AFC North, how many teams come out in that division, and stuff like that. I just think it's a very competitive conference. And I just think, looking at the Chargers, I think the Broncos are better than the Chargers, and I think the Chiefs are better than the Chargers. So could the AFC West potentially get 3 teams out to make the playoffs? Possibly. But I just don't see it. I think the Chargers finished with a 9-8 record, and then looking at their schedule too, they have a hard schedule especially towards the end of the season. They're playing obviously the AFC West, and they're playing a lot of good teams who are over 500 and stuff like that. So can they get those games when it matters? I think Justin Herbert will continue to get better. What's the defense going to be like? I don't know what the defense is going to be like. There's some question marks there, but I think the Chargers finish in third in the division behind the Chiefs and the Broncos at 9-8. Then last but not least, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them finishing with an 8-9 record for the 2025 season. The Raiders are, same thing like I said about them, about the Chargers. The Raiders are in a very stacked division. I think the record is going to be more improved than what it was last year. I do love what they did in the draft by getting Aston Genty, a cowbell running back who I believe is going to be a huge problem for a lot of defenses. I think his ability to be able to cut the hole, to be able to just how elusive he is on his side, he's going to make that offense more exciting. I think the Raiders should be really excited because the Raiders really haven't had a running game over the past couple of seasons. Now you have a veteran quarterback in Geno Smith who doesn't really make a lot of mistakes on his side. He takes care of the football. You have Pete Carroll, who's a Super Bowl champion, a coach. Obviously, we'll see how he gets this Raiders team going, being an older coach with a young team. But I think this Raiders team, I think the pieces make sense. I think the defense will be solid. Max Crosby on that side. I think this team's going to be competitive. I think people are sleeping on a little bit on the Raiders. A lot of people have them towards the bottom in the NFL. I just don't think this team is as bad as they think, as a lot of people think. I think this team's going to be very competitive, but it won't be enough to make the playoffs. But a significant improvement from last year, that's for sure. I think this team made some improvements at quarterback, at running back, and I think the defense will be solid once again. But we'll just have to see how everything plays out. Now, they could prove me wrong and they can move up in the division possibly, but I'm not going that far just yet. But I do have them finishing with an 8-9 record, right around 500, just outside of the playoff picture for 2025. My division winners for this year: Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans. Wildcard teams: Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, Los Angeles Chargers. Teams missing the playoffs: Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami Dolphins, Jacksonville Jaguars, Cincinnati Bengals, Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titans, New York Jets, Indianapolis Colts, and the Cleveland Browns. And there you have it. Those are my AFC predictions. Stay tuned for my NFC predictions. I will have that video out tomorrow for you guys. Thank you again for tuning into another edition of Keaton Talk Sports. As always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.